Anyone who watches these videos will know that it's no surprise that this is a Sony household and channel. We're pretty big fans of PlayStation over here, and whether it be the older consoles or the newer consoles, we participate pretty heavily with the brand. That being said, it would be a lie if we said we haven't, in the PS5 era, come to our own issue that the Xbox has been having for a while, which is identity, and the identity of IPs and games in the sphere. So, the Chief Financial Officer of Sony Entertainment has made a bit of a comment that I'd like to cover here today on Dynamic Entry. Devil's advocate, I'm going to bat for us as the fans. Sony, you're wrong on this one. Dead wrong. Let's talk about it. The stance of the company at this time is that whether it be in the fields of games, anime, or even in TV and film, they don't have enough IP in the starting stages or in the foundational stages to push forward and get anything done. The short and skinny of that is they don't feel that they have stuff that people would want to see or make. What the fuck does that mean? Just to get the basics aside, like, we've been asking for shit since the PS3 that hasn't even been made. And there's even stuff from the Let me focus. I feel that the company has a bit of a narrow view when it comes to that. And there's actually quite a bit of basis to say that we do, in fact, have the properties that they could pull from. If we're just looking at the older generation, you could look at things like Jak and Daxter, Parappa the Rapper, and Medieval as great examples. And if we were pulling from the PS3 era, you could look at things like Infamous, Resistance, and even Killzone as other great examples of what the system had aesthetically, as well as what it meant in its gaming market. A great variety of action-adventure games and puzzle games that just kept you captivated with the worlds that they crafted. And some of the stuff I really loved from the PS3 era is exactly for those reasons, man. Like, the world of Killzone and Resistance is so dark and weird, and then Infamous kind of went that way too, but it was awesome. Like, nobody was doing anything like that at the time without it being completely bleak, and it was cool, for me anyway. So, listed off a bunch of names, right? Why does that matter? Well, it matters because in the current iteration of the console, the PlayStation 5, we're not seeing a lot of those names, or any real names that are connected directly to Sony's house. To be honest, there's not a lot of brand representation from Sony directly. A lot of crossover games or games that have released on multiple platforms like Wukong and Space Marines 2, for instance, at the time of this recording, but those don't belong to Sony. And for them to say that they lack the properties is just crazy to me. I mean, when I grew up, things like Spyro were just synonymous with the company, and I've just never thought two ways about it. If you show me Crash Bandicoot, I think of PlayStation 1. That sounds foundational to me as far as an IP is concerned. And there's so much range with the things that they've created. Let's say you wanted to go more of the family-friendly route. You could bring back something like Parappa for the slightly older generation, but if you wanted to keep it a little more kid-friendly, you could bring back Little Big Planet. Shouts out to Astro Boy for kind of doing that, but it's not the same. We had something great over there. Those are just a few. And there are quite a few other games in the long history of the company, like Dark Cloud and a few others, that could still be brought back. But funding has always gone kind of by the wayside when it comes to these things. The problem, at least from my perspective, from the PlayStation 3's generation and up, when it comes to these decisions, has really had to do with accessories, namely cameras, like what we're using to record this now. The PlayStation 3 had a big push for the camera system and AR technology, which never really went anywhere. A few like spell card games and some other Just Dance games, but really that was about it. When it came to the PlayStation 4, they attempted to implement another camera, which had a microphone system that allowed you to talk back and forth, almost like a pseudo-connect. Guess what? Didn't really go anywhere. Ah, man, I don't know. To be honest with you, it isn't the best time to own a PlayStation. And I don't feel that the company has made a substantial move in the market to push us to want to purchase the consoles. That's not to say that I haven't enjoyed experiences like Horizon or like God of War or The Last of Us. Uncharted as well. Great hallmark examples of what the console can really do, both graphically and from a gameplay perspective. However, I feel like the company has sat too long on their laurels with these properties and just tried to let everything else be propped up by their existence. Furthermore, the whole big deal with Bungie, yeah, that went by the fucking wayside. As somebody who actually played Destiny after Sony's involvement and just recently left and went back to Warframe where things aren't so bad, I can honestly say it's just painful. And I feel like if they don't stop making these really poor business decisions, pull back from all these weird side projects and just refocus back on the games, we're gonna be too far gone. I mean, there are plenty of Sony fans who have made fun of Phil Spencer and the Xbox crew for the same situation, saying that they haven't had good Gears games or they haven't had good Halo games or anything like that recently. But you know what, guys? We're in the same fucking boat. We don't have a plethora of games afforded to our title right now. We don't have an identity of our own that you could look at and say, that is uniquely PlayStation. That is what they bring to the table. That is their aesthetic. That is their play style. Like, you look at that and you think that's who they are. Like, you look at Nintendo, you see Mario, you see Samus, you see Fox and Link and everyone else in between, and you get a really good range of their design philosophies as well as the things that interest them as far as like they go as a company. Like, they really invested in their brand there. I don't know. I'm gonna get to a point where I'm just complaining endlessly, so let me refocus and say this. If I could offer any advice to the CFO at Sony, just as an objective observer, I'd like to say that you should have more confidence in the brand and the company that has been propped up both by the hard work of your team and by the love and dedication of fans like myself and the rest of the folks here in the wide world. The truth of the matter is that you're going to have to take risks. You're going to have to afford yourself the opportunity to fail in bringing back some of these older IPs, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with missteps as long as they're honest attempts. But shallow and lowly tactics of getting us to spend monies on peripheral accessories the way that Nintendo does is not the move. And unless you take the opportunity to really just reinforce the existing brands that you do have, that you choose not to acknowledge, you will not see success. It was the problem you had with PlayStation 3, you squeaked by with the PS4, it's not gonna keep up if you try to go to a new console generation for 6. You've gotta think of a new play, please. So, those are my thoughts, and I feel better having said them, and I'm interested to see if anybody else has similar feelings down below. Again, I'm not saying there's not games on the console. What I'm saying here today is more that the particular games that we get in the international market, because obviously there's other games that come out only in Japan, are just not ones that the brand themselves are willing to acknowledge. They're just putting out quick grab money ones or reinforcing live pay service games instead of really digging their heels in and giving support to the people who gave PlayStation the great name it had in the first place. But what do you think? Comment down below, share the video, check out one of our other socials. You know the works. I'll talk to you another time. Peace.